Tonight, we're going to be talking about a few different topics within the video game industry. But before we get into any of that, let's see who's joining us today on the cast. We got Chris.
Eyebrows and all, I'm here.
We got TV's Casey.
Coming to you live from outer space.
Yeah. And I'm your host, Bad Cody Funky. Sergio, how you guys doing tonight? So, first thing we're going to talk about tonight is a game that's near and dear to my heart. I love it so much. It is Mass Effect. The Legendary Edition is coming out soon. And with it, we're going to get a ton of stuff. Now, for y'all who haven't played Mass Effect, it's a groundbreaking sci-fi epic, as it says on the trailer. So Mass Effect was 4 games. You had Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, Andromeda. Ooh, that one doesn't exist. There are 3 games for Mass Effect.
Three games, two and a half of which are good.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
pretty,
And
it's an immersive experience, and it's one of the few times where transferring over your save data really feels meaningful.
yeah, actually helps out. So, so Mass Effect is kind of like this space opera story where you're like a special agent who goes throughout the galaxy and tries to save it against the impending doom that's about to befall everybody. So they're doing a Legendary Edition, which comes with all 3 games, over 40 DLC, crazy. 3 remastered in 4K Ultra HD with HDR support, extra visual and gameplay updates for Mass Effect 1. The HUD is updated in Mass Effect 1. Now, Mass Effect 1 for this Legendary Remastered Edition has a few different things, right? So it was kind of janky when it came out. I remember because I was there day 1. So they kind of make a few little changes to it, kind of like it's Mass Effect 2. Like the HUD's a bit different, some of the character animations a bit smoother, some of the jankiness is taken out because when you take a first stab at a game like that, to such a big, humongous story, and the combat is third-person shooters, and you got powers, there's a lot of stuff that could go wrong, and a lot of it did go wrong. So the promising that the Legendary Edition will give you that nice crispy feeling, as if you're playing the game for the first time. It's going to be coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Oh, there's going to be unified character creation across all games. So when you make your character, it's kind of going to be the same for the entire Legendary Edition.
They used the final design of FemShep in this one, which was making big waves because FemShep in the first game is not great.
Yeah.
And not
There's
consistent.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Not great. Oh, no, there's going to be 4 compatibility for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series S. So if you get it now, you're going to be able to play it in the future on those consoles. But yeah, I mean, just Mass Effect. I loved the games. Like every time I had to, every time I got one, but when it dropped, I played it from start to finish. I played the stories over and over again because you got different endings, different choices, different options. This was when BioWare was BioWare. This is when BioWare was BioWare. For the people in the back, this is EA. Listen, this is when BioWare was BioWare. This is when we had good stories.
Preach, brother, preach.
The era of Anthem.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, we had good story, good character development. Okay, people who care about the game, not the ending dollar signs. Okay, I know I know all these game companies are still business at the end of the day, but there are lots of people back in this day, who cared about this game and how it's going to come out with its character development, its plot, and all that other good stuff. But yeah. So, are you guys going to pick up the Legendary Edition?
I've never played Mass Effect.
Really?
Which means, yeah. And I have lots of people yelling at me that over the years, telling me that I should play Mass Effect. So I guess if I'm going to play Mass Effect, like, I guess it's a time to do it because why not? But re-release, all hot new graphics. What else am I going to play on my PS5 right now? Because there's like 3 games. What do you want from me?
Play the hits,
Casey, have
baby.
you ever picked up Mass Effect?
No, but it is one of those games that I've watched like extensive Let's Plays and analyses over and over again because I mean it's one of the biggest. It was one of the biggest franchises for basically half a decade. There's not really anything like it, at least where stuff carried over. I mean, KOTOR 2, but even then, Mass Effect was such a step up and beyond that series, from just individual characters, personal quest lines. But they kind of fumbled the ball with the ending, which, it's the same thing with like The Walking Dead or most narrative-driven games. You can give the player sort of the illusion of all these choices, but you have to funnel it into something doable. Which is a shame because it feels like a lot of your choices ended up not mattering when going into the third game, two players could have like extremely fundamentally different experiences.
And it's funny you mentioned the ending because the creators said that that even though and that got the most in the Twitch chat here is like, yeah, the ending, all roads led to F all.
Yeah,
yep.
just pick a color, dude.
Yeah, so the ending of Mass Effect 3 and I actually didn't beat Mass Effect 3 because like it was just a thing where people were like, it's so bad, don't even, it's gonna ruin the whole thing for you, and I'm just like, okay. So the creator said they're not even going to touch that.
Oh,
so when you get the Mass Effect Definitive Remastered Edition, they're not going to touch the ending. Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, they're touching a lot of things in this game to kind of make it better for you. So you know how they're redoing the HUD for Mass Effect 1. They're kind of tightening up some of the game mechanics to make it more like that.
What is your favorite Mass Effect? And I would like to know why that is your favorite Mass Effect.
So I would say Mass Effect 2 is my favorite Mass Effect, only because I really liked the first Mass Effect game. And going back into the second one, I remember just being so hyped because I love the first game so much, right? I liked I love RPGs, so I love the RPG elements. I like the characters that I was interacting with. There was a third-person shooter RPG. I liked sci-fi, so it had everything that I liked in a game. And of course, because it was their first stab at something like that, it was kind of janky, kind of wonky a little bit. So I remember getting Mass Effect 2 and being like, all right, I'm going to be so into this thing. Like I told all my friends, like, listen, you're not gonna be able to contact me or talk to me because I'm going to be playing Mass Effect. I remember getting snackies. I remember getting some alcohol because when you're an adult and you game, get yourself some alcohol and some snackies, and there you go.
Got myself a bedpan so I wouldn't have to get up and use the bathroom. Just do it right there.
Like an adult.
That's all
Like an
you.
adult.
That is all TV's Casey. All TV's Casey. But yeah, so Mass Effect 2 just because, and I really like the combat. I like the mechanics. It just seemed a bit tighter, and I like just jumping back into it. And I had a lot of fun playing that game.
Mine's absolutely the same. I think Mass Effect 2 is probably the best game of the franchise, if only because of the final act. The entire suicide mission, as it is colloquially known to the fans. I don't know if they necessarily call it that in the game, but it definitely is. You basically have to know all of your teammates inside and out, where all their strengths lie, where their best positions would be on the ship. So you have to be like an actual captain and not just an adventurer who's in charge of a crew. Looking at you, Luffy, you son of a bitch. But no, it really just made everything kind of come together because it not only relies on your own skill, but it relies on your ability to put people where they're supposed to be. And it also relies on you to act. Because if you're too slow or if you don't do it right, people die. And, you know, even if you're playing on Whittle Baby Easy mode where your teammates pretty much can't die, this is it. Like, narrative choices, like, they're out for the rest of the franchise. And I'm pretty sure no one is safe, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I think everyone can die.
I do know I straight goofed it the first time I played it, and I was so, like, thoroughly... I pretty much had an anxiety attack about it while it was happening. So I reloaded that save real quick to set right what once went wrong. Like poor Dr. Amari getting atomized. That was, what a... Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I'm not good at these games, I should point out. I'm not very good at shooters, period. So, you can imagine I struggled my way through a lot of this, especially to get all the Chivos.
That is Mass Effect Legendary Edition coming out May 14th. I'm going to be all up in that because Mass Effect was one of my favorites. Casey, there was some news with Super Mario World?
So we got some interesting stuff. If you've been following Nintendo news, sort of unrelated to their own releases, the fan community is constantly doing things like making ROM hacks and investigating and data mining all of these old games from your youth. So in a lot of things that they call like the quote-unquote iceberg, you could look it up on YouTube. You look up like the Ocarina of Time iceberg or the Super Mario 64 iceberg. There's tons of facts and leftover data in video games that don't see the light of day, but we live in an age of computers where this stuff is retrievable by fans who are willing to look for it. And it's also given way to things like restoration projects. Like you may hear about stuff right now where there's a GoldenEye restoration project that's pulled out of the scraps of what would have been an Xbox Live re-release. Not Nintendo related, but that's something that probably came across your radar if you followed any gaming news lately. What I wanted to talk about tonight was something that appeals to this show in particular because Doc Chris is a musician. And Super Mario World has a soundtrack that is compressed for a Super Nintendo, a 16-bit system. And the music is all synthesized, as you might expect of something from the time. Data miners have found more or less the source of what Koji Kondo would have used to make these. So they retrieved effectively the original samples of what he used in crafting this music, painstakingly put it back together by hand. So we have what is essentially an unaltered, uncompressed soundtrack for Super Mario World that they have dubbed Super Mario World Restored. I don't want to name the persons responsible. I mean, even though they're just using, online code names, I don't want to point out where it originated because you never want to see really great fan projects like these shut down, as Nintendo is becoming more and more notorious for doing. You can check it out on YouTube. It's not very hard to find. It's been floating around Twitter in a couple places, so you're more than welcome to look there. I don't often say this, or maybe I do. I don't know.
Nintendo has already sent out their lawyers.
Yeah, they've already sent the lawyers. I don't
let them wipe them out.
All of them.
It's such a refreshing new sound. It's almost like it really does sound like a new composition. And to think that, in 1991 or whenever Super Mario World was originally released on Super Nintendo, that this is what it was always intended to more or less sound like before the limitations of the times compressed it to the iconic music that we know today.
All of the steel drums.
Yeah,
so many steel drum tracks, but they do sound really freaking good.
Now, how do we know that Nintendo hasn't already put these out in some other version?
I mean, I think they've done remakes of some of their music, like in Smash Brothers Ultimate. I don't think they use. I think all the stuff is either recomposed or redone for the most part, especially with regard to the Mario and Zelda series.
So my whole thing is if the data miners found this original music, I mean, wouldn't Nintendo have used this already in some other? Because I mean, they've remastered and re-put out all these games. I mean, isn't it already there officially through Nintendo?
Well, I mean how many? You got to think of how many versions of Super Mario World are there. There's the original. There's the one that comes in Super Mario All Stars plus Super Mario World. There's Game Boy Advance. It was released on the Virtual Consoles, but none of it is, I would say, upscaled to any degree. All the sprites are the exact same sprites. If they were maybe redone on Game Boy Advance, they're still at best a 32-bit sprite. And the sound compression on a handheld system is going to be about the same as it would have been, even on a console made 10, 15 years earlier. I don't remember when Game Boy Advance came out.
Didn't they release a newer version of Super Mario World?
I think it's just in the on the Switch Nintendo Online.
Yeah, it's also
it's
on Super Nintendo Online.
Yeah,
it's on the Super Nintendo Classic. But all these re-releases, there's not any substantial update. So yeah. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a remake or a remaster. It's just a re-release.
And it's also cool hearing the full instrument instrumentation of what it's supposed to sound like, because when you have someone that's writing music for a video game, especially when we're talking about the 16-bit era, where you're past the 8-bit era where it really was just chirps. 16-bit you can start to get a bit more fidelity. So there's even stories of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 apparently for a bit of time. Michael Jackson actually was a part of the composition team for that.
Yep.
I heard about that. Yeah.
That's so insane.
Which is nuts. But that's also why the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 kind of slaps, because they were able. There was certainly a lawsuit where he fell out of the project, but they were able to take some of the ideas that the other composers that were working on in using them. But you got to think of if they're in the studio working on these songs, they're not using chips, the 16-bit chips and chirps. They're using instruments that they think that they can kind of recreate in doing so. And it's really cool. Similar thing, also a kind of a cool gaming soundtrack story. Stuart Copeland, the drummer from The Police, actually did the soundtrack for the Spyro the Dragon series.
Hey,
Which is really cool, and that's why that music is also like kind of ethereal but like really cool sounding. But there was only so much that you could do with like a PS1. Obviously much better than the 16-bit stuff, but only so much you can do there. Then with the re-release of the Spyro Reignited trilogy, they were able to take these songs and kind of give them the full instrumentation treatment that was intended.
I think there was a version of like Mario, I think, or maybe it was like a Newgrounds or something. I remember like seeing like Super Mario World, but like a Michael Jackson sprite, and him just like going through and just like every time he hits like a mushroom, he's just like.
Did they take the sprite from
I want that
Moonwalker?
into like an actual game. Yeah,
There was
yeah,
a bunch.
yeah.
I remember a bunch of stuff that was like that.
Yeah, it was
where
so nice.
Mario
Like,
would just
I want
fucking
to
bust
play a
move.
game like of like Mario with like the Michael Jackson sprite and all of his noises and his grunts and everything. Oh my god, that'd be great.
Was it on Newgrounds that there was a version of Super Mario Brothers 1, but you could play it like as Link or Contra, the guys from Contra?
I think
or
so.
something?
Yeah,
It was,
Yeah.
and you could play as Simon from Castlevania.
Yeah, or Mega Man.
yeah.
Was Mega Man?
that's
Yeah,
some
I
old
think Mega
internet.
Man was in it.
Yeah, that was some old
Man.
internet, but that was pretty awesome.
R.I.P. Flash. Am I right, fellas?
That's right.
Yo, for real though. Speaking of RIP, but not really. Some news coming out from the Borderlands development house, Gearbox. What's going on there?
It looks like Gearbox was bought by another company called the Embracer Group. The Embracer Group is a company that's basically a shell corporation that houses a bunch of other gaming studios, including the most notable, of course, is THQ Nordic, who's responsible for things like Metro Redux, Maneater, Dead by Daylight, Destroy All Humans, and Saints Row. I think it's Coach Media, who had worked on Agents of Mayhem, Dead Island, and there's a couple other ones like the company that does the Goat Simulator, Saber Interactive, that does a bunch of other games ports like Witcher and some remasters. But they're getting pulled into that hood. It does seem like, looking at what this company is, I'm wondering if Gearbox was having financial issues because it doesn't seem like, I don't know. I'm confused at this merger. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a creative pull. It seems more like a financial move to
Didn't
me.
Borderlands 3 do gangbusters? Do we know?
I don't know.
I think it did well. I don't know if it did gangbusters, but I know Borderlands 3 did well. I mean, I know when it launched, like, everybody was playing it. I mean, by everybody,
Yeah.
I mean like content creators, the people like in their fan base. Like you would go to a Twitch stream or even a YouTube channel, and you would see people like, oh, I'm enjoying the game. Like, what build do you have for this character? This and that. There seemed like a good amount of people were playing. Like, you have some of the top Twitch streamers who have like like 60,000, 40,000 people watching, and then in their audience, they're just like, oh yeah, like I have this character, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And you're like, oh okay. So I mean, I don't know if that's a metric to, like measuring it by, but just looking at it from face value, I think it did pretty well. But at the same time, I mean, like they also try to get themselves money, Gearbox themselves money by licensing other smaller studios, because I mean it takes a long time to make these games, especially these big Borderlands games, and look at the amount of time that it takes from Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3. In between all that, they've had the storytelling games, the Telltale Borderlands series. They had smaller DLCs and stuff like that, and then they licensed out and bought smaller studios. Yeah, the pre-sequel. So you figure how well are they doing? You know what I mean?
And also, remember when Borderlands 3 was released, it was exclusively at first on the Epic Store, and
That's where I
that
got
was
it.
that was around the time that most people were upset about the Epic Store and were like, why isn't it coming to Steam? I'm not getting it. So I feel like that kind of controversy definitely pulled down sales for people that were maybe waiting for it to show up on Steam. So it probably didn't do so great right out of the gate. So people just want to stick by their Steam's guns, and now of course at this point it is on Steam as well. But I'm wondering how much that kind of Steam versus Epic played into the sales of this, specifically this game.
Yeah, especially that people actually care about launchers and stuff. Like, I'm seeing these stupid threads. People are like, "Oh, it's on Epic and not Steam." Oh, I'm not getting it. Who cares? If you got a PC, who cares? Like, which one's gonna offer you the best deal? Oh, it's cheaper on Epic than it is on Steam. Okay, get it.
And
Epic.
is it really gonna
Steam?
play different? Like, come on.
Yeah. Like those arguments
game.
are so dumb, but there are people who are just like, oh, I'm not getting it. So it's like, oh, there's a tiny little dip in sales because you and your buddies didn't get it. But yeah, this Embracer, it kind of sounds like, I agree with Baruto. It sounds like a Tencent company. You know, they just buy, like if you try to look them up, all you see is like, like Business Insider stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, this is just like a telecommunications company or something. I don't know, but hey.
Next to their list of studios is an investment. It is like an investment company as well, which is that's what.
That doesn't surprise me. In my line of work outside of playing video games and recording a podcast about it, there are these things called SPACs, which are, like special interest groups that exist only to buy other companies and merge into them. They're kind of like a bane and a boon of the investment world. It's a whole mess, and to be honest, I really don't fully understand it. Don't tell my boss. But that's exactly more or less what this is, or at least what it appears to be.
Yeah, and it was surprising to see that Gearbox was bought, because like you don't think that Gearbox is doing quote unquote bad or enough for like, oh, we need someone to buy us out. You know what I mean? Like you never think that about Gearbox. Like, oh, those are the Borderlands guys, and they do other things too. But yeah, they're fine. They always come out with stuff. There was a fun time at PAX, and let's go. So when I saw the news, I was surprised. I was like, wait. What are y'all okay? Is everything good at home? Is everything good at home?
Did they do Battleborn too?
Yeah, they did Battleborn too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that? Not Overwatch.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Good.
Is that I wonder that like that also was like just before Borderlands 3 as well. Like that was the major release that they had before then, which just died. And I think they just shut down the I think it was this past week. Was it that game? Some server just got shut down. I think it might have been Battleborn.
Yeah, it sucks too, because at PAX East, where we got to meet the developers and like the creative director and like the community manager and all those people, and even Randy Pitchford, and it was cool. Like, it's just like, okay, yeah, these personalities, and talking to those guys, it's like, yeah, they made Borderlands. So it makes sense. But yeah, at the height of Battleborn, it was unfortunate that it did come out at the same time as Overwatch, and Overwatch was good and it's still standing up. But I think Battleborn had its own like fun thing. I mean, it got.
I love the character designs on that, man. I really
character designs were great. I think a lot of like the game modes were a lot of fun. It had a story campaign mode, which was cool, which Overwatch I think always needed. Yep. But yeah, it's weird because you never think that certain companies like Gearbox are struggling, and then you're like, oh, some company bought them out. Oh, were they in trouble? What's going on?
Listen, maybe they just got an offer they couldn't refuse. If a company's like, hey, we'll give you $200 million for ownership of your company, like maybe you'd be a little foolish to not even consider it.
Yeah,
true.
And
true.
Randy Pitchford is still staying on as head of that studio underneath the hood.
Like, we'll give you $200 million, and we still want you to be, president CEO of creative, like
/ sorcerer. Randy Pitchford is a sorcerer.
Jesus.
He does magic tricks. The CEO of this company does magic tricks.
I've seen this
really
amazing.
Didn't know. He's a wizard.
He's also a big fan of this magic trick of a woman who could do really amazing things with ping pong balls in a place you might not expect.
Anyways, if you
like that controversy,
nope.
I was looking for a way to transition to the next topic, and you just like that completely just
throw it out there.
I will never think of Randy Pitchford the same. After this.
If you're interested in, you're a big fan of Borderlands, or you want to get into Borderlands, right now there is 2K publisher sale going on both the Steam and the Epic Store, which includes Borderlands 3 is dropped. I think it's like 67% off or something like that. So it's actually only $20 instead of the usual $50.
Diggity dog.
So I am actually thinking about maybe grabbing that because why not?
Yeah. So Casey's ruined joke reminds me of other things that are ruined. Google Stadia.
Not a joke. Not a joke. I should point out, not a joke. Real thing that actually happened. But okay,
there we go. So Google Stadia is shutting down its internal studios. What's going on there?
So, first of all, Google Stadia itself not shutting down. They are still going to maintain the games they have on there. They're still working with other third-party developers, but what they're doing is they're shutting down development on their first-party games. They've decided to refocus that business elsewhere. They're still going to be sharing that technology and supporting those developers that would like to publish on Stadia. But it's kind of interesting. That I mean, I don't know how surprising this was because I mean, name a Google Stadia first party game.
Right.
No one. No one. Okay. Cool.
Original
Great.
Stadia content.
Yeah.
It's chock full of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the whole concept of Stadia being, you're streaming a game from a PC that's elsewhere if you don't have a computer that's strong enough to handle these games. For the few people that actually really like to play on it, apparently it's working great. Apparently Cyberpunk runs really well on it, which is
I don't believe it.
surprising. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens in the future with Stadia. Obviously, when when they launched, there was certainly pieces that they promised that were missing. For instance, like the YouTube integration wasn't there. And now we're seeing other competitors kind of trying to do the same thing, like Amazon's Luna. Does everyone remember that was a thing that they announced?
Oh my god, yeah.
And they have been kind of slowly rolling out the beta release that congratulations, you can now buy into this thing that probably no one's ever going to play.
Yeah, I love how the beta is like, hey, you were accepted into the beta, now buy into it to start using it. Wait, what? What? That's so dumb.
Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, also, just like how nobody wants to be a part of Google Stadia. Or
Google Stadia, it's the Google Plus of video games.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by this news because no one's really hyped for this model. No one was really hyped for what it was offering. I mean, you don't really own these games. It's a streaming service. You got to pay for the Chromecast and the controller, though you can use your ear controller. It was just this thing that it's like, who asked? just like it's like, hey, Google, who asked? And Google's like, well, I mean, sometimes in business you got to answer the questions people don't necessarily think that they need or want or asking. And it's just like, what? Why are you speaking like the guy who's like sugar in water?
I put my hands on my head.
But that's what I think. Like the head of Google Stadia sounds like. Well, we wanted to ask this question. I mean, how can we get gaming into people's houses and people like streaming services? Why not a gaming streaming service? And it's all going to be through our Google service, which are great. Never falter.
There's already a gaming streaming service. It's called Xbox Game Pass or maybe PlayStation Plus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's doing
PlayStation Now. Yeah. I think the model, the idea behind it is good, but just like anything, you got to have a game. You got to have the game that is good enough to bring people to your service. And that just didn't happen. Basically, everything that we see on Stadia are games that we can get in other places. So why would we go to Stadia?
Tried and true places that we know are mostly dependable, maybe.
As a side tangent, I was playing around with some stuff with trying some streaming on my own network of from the PS5 and my Xbox as well. And I tried streaming from my Xbox to my PC and playing a game, and it was actually surprisingly stable. Same thing with streaming from the PS5 to my PC to see how that worked as well. Also, very surprisingly stable, better than the PS4 handled. Just as a side tangent, streaming is not a new thing, but kind of fun to play around with.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Google. I don't know what to say about this, Google Stadia thing. I mean, it's just like, I'm not surprised, dude. I wonder if there was a meeting internally where they were just like, well, here's some news, fellow employees, and everyone's just like, well, yeah.
Here's some news, former employees.
Yeah.
Sorry, what
but it
did
did.
you say?
This did put about 150 developers out of work though, so not
okay. Well, that's not good.
not great. Because they were dedicated. Yeah, so they weren't just Google employees; they were people that were working specifically on these projects that just got shut down. So that's no bueno.
That is no bueno. Speaking of no bueno, Destiny 2.
Destiny 2. Listen, I know you keep trying to let it die.
My opinion. What's going on with Destiny 2, Chris?
I keep bringing it back. They just announced the new season of The Chosen. The Cabal are back. Cabal versus Zavala. This is gonna be great. It's still kind of my comfort game. I'm like, I don't know what I want to play. I'm gonna jump into Destiny, shoot some things in the face. So I'm excited for some new content.
What are you playing it on PC?
I am playing it on PS5 because I gotta get that hot 4K. Like 60 to 120 frames per second.
I spent $500 on this. I'm gonna get my money's worth.
I'm gonna freaking do it.
How's Destiny 2 on the PS5?
it's uncomfortably smooth. Like the frame rate is, I'm not used to this high of a frame rate. It is smooth like butter. I don't know if anyone's played recently, but trying to load into the tower on like a PS4, it takes like 8 hours, and now it takes like maybe like 30 seconds to get into it, which is awesome. I love it. I am thoroughly enjoying it. Going back into there, I saw that some friends of mine were playing on Xbox, and so I jumped in, and like right when I jumped in, of course they were like going to bed. I was like, oh crap! But I played for a little bit with another friend, just like so I could chat with them. But I was just like, oh my god, this is such a degradation based off playing on the PS5. It's so much better. So then I pieced on him, and I was like, I need to go play the better quality version of this game. Anyways,
I remember real quick, just like for first loading up Destiny 2 on PC and just being like, whoa, after playing it on the PlayStation 4 for I don't know how many years, like the first Destiny and then the beginning of Destiny 2, it just being so smooth, I was like, wait a minute, the game plays like this? Holy crap, this is so different. It feels like a completely different game on PC, and so I imagine that on PS5 it must be the same thing, because you get all that frame rate, all that crispiness, and the Destiny it's a good game. It's got some stuff there. I mean, like I rag on it, but I don't know. I guess it's because like we used to play it like every day, like for forever, and then it got that way. But so what's going on with this season of The Chosen?
So the Cabal are back, and I believe they're going to be it looks like, I think they're probably going to be on Earth, the Cosmodrome. Which is cool, because they brought the Cosmodrome back, but they didn't really do anything with it yet. So I'm excited to actually have things explore there. And one thing I will say about Destiny, we see things like Call of Duty that does like in Fortnite that does the season kind of thing where they bring new stuff. But what I love about Destiny is that every time they do a new season, it's not just like a switch up of guns or locations. It's also like more story, which is really cool, that they're consistently supporting the story as well as the actual mechanics of the game. So yeah, I'm excited to go in, shoot some more giant jack dudes with tiny heads in the face, and then they can explode, and I'm love it.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, everybody, we're going to take a short break. We're going to return more Button Smash right after this.
Hi, this is Michael Dolce, host of the Rogue Wave podcast. If you like comics, movies, TV, pop culture, and want inside access to the creators behind it, then you've come to the right place. Join us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on facebook.com/RogueWavePodcast and twitch.tv/Rogue Wave Podcast. New episodes available on all major podcasting apps immediately following the live stream. Rogue Wave Podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it.
Welcome back to Button Smash, everybody. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. If you're listening to us on your apps, listen to us and watching us here on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter. Checking out RogueMatter.com for all the stuff and things there. All right, everyone. This is the second half of the show. We're going to go to a bit of little fun skis. Little fun skis. Whoa. Nintendo is canceling the Zelda and Star Fox Netflix show? Yeah. Wait, what?
Those were things that already existed?
And they're being canceled? What's this about?
Yeah. So apparently, and this was one of the more fun things that I found out about, Adam Conover of Adam Ruins Everything and College Humor fame was originally involved in both of these projects on Netflix. And I think originally it was based. College Humor did a video that was like the Fantastic Mr. Star Fox, and
awesome.
Apparently it was popular enough where they thought about sort of making a whole stop motion show about Star Fox.
What the cuss?
Yeah, right. It's pretty wild. But then you think like Star Fox kind of has its roots in stop motion stuff, believe it or not, or at least with models. The original artwork and like assets and what have you for Star Fox on Super Nintendo was done with models.
So this Netflix show was going to be stop motion?
Yeah, well, that was apparently the plan. There's not a whole lot of details on it because I think it was killed very early in development. But it was that, or I think, or maybe even claymation. Well, I mean, claymation is stop motion animation, but whatever. It was that and a Zelda series as well. Both of this, and it was they were both being developed by College Humor through Netflix, and then one day they just get a call out of the blue where it's like, it's over. We're not we're scrapping it. We're not doing it anymore. And everyone who was developing the show is like, why? And it's like, because they talked about it before it was ready, and that's not how Nintendo does business. So Nintendo just fucking killed the project entirely.
Yeah, I saw that headline that the series, because things were leaked, is why Nintendo can't.
But they didn't even.
What kind of headline is that?
They didn't even really leak it. That's the thing. It's just the very existence of it leaked, which is insane to me. Because that's news that you hear all the time. You're like, a Sandman series is in development over at DC, and such and such person is rumored to play X. Like, this is the world we live in. Like, no news is sacred anymore. Like, the only places that keep secrets from you is the government, kids. Like, popular culture, there's no holds barred anymore.
In an interview with IndieWire, Conover, who's like the creator and the showrunner over at College Humor. Yeah, they were going to do a claymation Star Fox show. He said, we had a secret project at College Humor where we were going to make a claymation version of Star Fox with Nintendo. It was going to happen, and we were going to make a fantastic Mr. Fox-style Star Fox. Then a month later, there were reports that Netflix wasn't doing the Legend of Zelda series anymore. Then I heard from my boss that we weren't doing Star Fox anymore. Someone at Nintendo leaked the Legend of Zelda thing, and they weren't supposed to talk about it. Nintendo freaked out because it was the first time they had done any television or any other adaptations for years and years. And then I guess they didn't like that, and they pulled the plug. Wow. So, I wonder who at Nintendo was just like, hey, we're going to take a stab at this. This is going to be great. Oh, wait, people are talking about it. It's not even right. Oh, no, we can't. Pull the plug. Take it out.
That seems like a pretty Nintendo thing, though.
They're brutally protective of their IP.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
It
So
is
they're going
crazy.
to deny the world a Legend of Zelda Netflix series and a Star Fox series.
Look,
because people started talking about it, and it even came to be that what a psychopath over at Nintendo. What kind of psycho was just like, people are starting to talk about it. We haven't even done it yet. Performance anxiety. Pull out.
There's it's still nothing
barrel
short
roll.
of a miracle that Illumination is still
Do a
working.
barrel roll out of this whole thing.
Yeah. It's nothing short of a miracle that Illumination is still able to work on the Super Mario Brothers movie that they're apparently making.
I have no faith in that because it's Illumination. Like
I don't-
their animation style is great. Their humor though, I mean, it's obviously they done Minions and stuff like that. And
I don't think
it's all for children. But Pixar, come on, they have great humor, great animation. They have great movies. Illumination, I'm just like, I don't get your humor. It's not for me. Animation's great. I don't know. Maybe you better write us. But Yarutu, Japanese corporate is way different than U.S. True, very true. Different mindset. Yeah. I mean, what you have faith in the Mario show from Illumination?
I mean, listen. The only movie from Illumination I don't really like is Minions. All three Despicable Me's are pretty solid movies. I don't know. Like maybe there's some stupid like doo-doo butt humor, but that doesn't bother me so much because are you gonna have that in a Mario Brothers movie? Absolutely not. Because again,
I mean, I don't know. They just might. It is Illumination. They're just like, this is what works for us. This is why we got this project. That's
Toads are the
exactly
new
what they're
Minions.
gonna do.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
You are an editor professionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you fully understand the idea of what's allowed to stay in and what's not when you're working with certain groups of people. And if you're working with a company like Nintendo, they can't be like, we're going to make Luigi gay in this. And it's like, the fuck you ain't. Like, I don't.
I wasn't even thinking that.
No, but I mean, that's something.
But no, I know what you mean because they wouldn't allow because I mean, I'm sure
Nothing considered controversial.
Exactly.
I'll give you something
I'm sure that there's like a long Twitter thread like calling for it, like someone's fan fiction come to life, and then they're like, make this happen for the movie. Do it. It's progressive.
I'll give you an example that's probably even more realistic. Mario kissing Peach on the lips. Probably not going to happen. Like in their 30-year history, they've always either done a kiss on the cheek, she kisses him on his big old honker, but like
True, it's always been very wholesome.
yeah. And I mean
Yeah.
like kissing on the mouth is not like something that immediately needs to get a PG-13 rating. You know, Disney characters kiss all the time. It's not. This isn't like some like oh my goodness, good sir, your wife is showing her ankle in public. Like we're not. We don't live in olden times, but
This is Nintendo, sir. Good day.
but that's,
I mean-
but like it's so chaste and it's so like clean. Like you'll never like. There's no like dirty jokes in Mario either. Like even
Remember when Mario
they,
had nipples in Odyssey and people went nuts?
They went
because
yeah.
because he's never had his shirt off before.
I went nuts that he didn't have any chest hair. Like you honestly believe that this man is Italian?
An Italian plumber.
I've seen that mustache. You got chest hair.
It's wild.
the love of him being Italian for everything except for chest hair.
Pretty much.
Oh man, Nintendo romance has to be G-rated. Yes, it does. It's true. Like God lecture, he has his big old honker. Yeah, Peach kissed him on his big old honker. PG.
That's it.
G-rated. But yeah, it's just so crazy. I would love to know. I would just love to know, just be in that room of like why they pulled it. You know what I mean? I mean, just like the reasoning behind it. I mean, so we're just not going to get it now? A Legend of Zelda Netflix series?
Nothing.
That's crazy. I mean, I could do that the stop motion Star Fox. I don't really care about that. But a Legend of Zelda series. I mean, that would have been cool.
Yeah, fantasy series
Yeah.
and Legend of Zelda. Come on, it could have been
That's
great.
crazy, dude.
Could have been
Yeah.
anything.
I quickly want to go around and ask everybody what they've been playing lately. Starting with Chris, what's been good on your fingertips?
All right, 2 releases from the last week, one of which is Cyber Shadow from Yacht Club Games. It's basically a what if you made Ninja Gaiden in 2021.
And not oppressively horrible.
Yeah. And it's I mean, it's because Yacht Club Games also did Shovel Knight, an incredibly difficult kind of retro platformer. This kind of follows the similar vein.
Yeah.
I am thoroughly enjoying it. I'm not super far into it, playing it on my Switch, but I'm a fan of a good platformer. What can I say? That's where I go in there. And the other game I'm playing is actually, I started The Medium.
How is that?
It is actually really freaking cool. So one of the big pitches of the gameplay is that you're a medium. Go figure. But there are times where you'll enter an area and your consciousness gets split between the land of the dead and the land of the living. And the way that they show you this is by they actually split the screen in two. The left-hand side is the land of the living. The right-hand side is the land of the dead. And there are certain things you can do in each that you need to basically solve puzzles. So I need to be able to walk through a door in the land of the dead to access this item and manipulate this thing so that I can actually get through to this other area in the land of the living. And the way that the two kind of interact is really cool. It's not like the most difficult puzzle solving so far, which I kind of like because the aesthetic of the whole thing is really cool. But big fan of it so far. I'm excited to go through some truly terrifying moments. I'm excited to keep playing more.
Hey, and Casey, what have you been playing with your phalanges?
So they did it. They absolutely did it. Those madmen. They've released the Scott Pilgrim beat 'em up on many consoles. And I don't think this has been like available since 2011. When did the movie even come out? Because this was
around there.
Yeah, this was right around the same time. The great thing about Scott Pilgrim, the video game, it's your classic arcade beat 'em up, but it's just everything is really polished and really tight. The sprite graphics are among some of the best I've ever seen in a video game. The music by Anna Managuchi is absolutely killer.
So good.
So good.
Love it.
I just love everything about this game. And you should probably pick it up. The only drawback I heard when I watched a review of it by The Completionist, and I only know this because I haven't actually tried it myself, the online is very finicky and inconsistent. Unfortunately, you can't really play local co-op in these plague times in which we live, but I'll tell you, even as a single-player game, I am having a hoot.
Nice. Good stuff, boys. Okay, and that's all the time we have for this episode of Button Smash. Thank you, everyone who's been tuning in and participating live here on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter, listening to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to a podcast on your phones and your apps on your way to work, on your commutes, walking your dog, wherever you can, wearing your mask, being safe out there. Hopefully we give you a little break from the crazy world that's out there and give you a little spice of entertainment and a little bit of fun here. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will see you all later, or we will see you another time.